Hi, my name is James Shepard, and today I want to talk to you about 3 reasons I still sell cash discounting. So it's been several months since the Visa Bulletin came out. I did a lot of content about it and what it meant for the industry. And so here we are several months later. I've made updates about it, and yet what I see in our industry is a lot of people moving away from cash discounting. The other day, I made a sale of a self-storage property for our software that we have, and I set them up with a cash discount program. And it really kind of reminded me and made me think about, with all the agents I talked to and everything, why do I still sell cash discounting with all the things with surcharging and everything else going on? And so I want to give you 3 reasons. Now, before I jump in there, I always do a disclaimer when I'm doing these videos about cash discounting that I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. I don't accept any liability for any actions that you may or may not take because of this video and this content. So I want to talk about why I sell cash discounting. Number 1, I've got some notes here because I want to read some things to you. Number 1, I know that the core concept of cash discounting is compliant with the law. I know that the core concept of cash discounting is compliant with the law. How do I know that? Because of the Durbin Amendment, okay? The Durbin Amendment clearly states that cash discounting is compliant. And one of the things I think is interesting, as I'm talking to people that tell me cash discounting, using a service fee or things like that, that's not compliant with the law. I'd really challenge you. Have you ever actually read the Durbin Amendment? If not, I'm about to read it to you in a second, just this one section, so you can really understand it. But the Durbin Amendment clearly protects this. And in my mind, it actually clearly protects all of these different forms of cash discounting for the most part. There's a few companies that are doing things in a way that, in my mind, is not compliant and is a little bit ridiculous. But for the most part, it's compliant with the law. Now, yes, Visa did come out with their bulletin saying that many of the ways that we're doing cash discounting are not compliant with Visa rules. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I mean, to me, I'm like, okay, fine. They haven't taken any action yet. Visa certainly has a right to their opinion, but I also have a right to keep doing what I'm doing until Visa actually shows that their opinion is the correct one. I disagree with their opinion. I think it is compliant, and I think that they really aren't allowed to say that it's not, and I'll show you that in one second. So let's go ahead and read what the Durbin Amendment actually says. Okay, are you ready? Listen to this. I'm gonna point out a few words here that you may not have noticed before. So this is in the section of the Durbin Amendment entitled Limitations on Restrictions on Offering Discounts for Use of a Form of Payment in General. A payment card network, that's Visa, MasterCard, Discover, a payment card network shall not directly or through any agent, processor, or licensed member of the network by contract, requirement, condition, penalty, or otherwise inhibit the ability of any person to provide a discount or, notice this, have you ever noticed this before, or in-kind incentive for payment by the use of cash, check, debit cards, or credit cards to the extent that, in the case of a discount or in-kind incentive for payment by use of debit cards, the discount or in-kind incentive does not differentiate on the basis of the issuer of the payment card network. So it's saying you can't incentivize somebody to use a Visa debit card versus a MasterCard debit card. Okay, we don't do that. Number 2, in the case of a discount or in-kind incentive for payment by the use of credit cards, the discount or in-kind incentive does not differentiate on the basis of the issuer. Same thing, basically, but that's for credit cards. Number 3, to the extent required by federal law and applicable state law, such discount or in-kind incentive is offered to all prospective buyers and disclosed clearly and conspicuously. You have to have signs up, you have to disclose it conspicuously, and you can't offer the cash discount to some people but not to others. That's it, okay? Lawful discounts, and then it goes into a few other things. I won't get into that. So here's the point I want to make, though. When you read that, okay, and you hear me reading that, okay, I have to ask, seriously here, people, okay, again, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. But when I read that a payment card network is not allowed to inhibit the ability of any person to provide a discount or in-kind incentive, what is an in-kind incentive? Maybe would it be something like, instead of doing a cash discount, you add a service fee to all non-cash payments? Would that be an in-kind incentive? Sounds like it to me. So I'm sorry, I just don't get it. And I also am a little bit confused about, wow, Visa sent out a bulletin with the express purpose of inhibiting people from doing a discount or an in-kind incentive. So I'm a little confused by that, right? So my point to all this is, in my mind, I sleep great at night knowing that selling cash discounting is absolutely, in my mind, my personal opinion, protected under federal law with the Durbin Amendment, which clearly states that you're not allowed to inhibit anybody from doing this, okay? So I actually believe that the reason Visa isn't taking very much action here and why they don't seem to care too much about pressing this issue is because if they did, and merchants actually took them to court over these cash discount programs, I really think that any lawyer that read that and had, hey, here's a merchant that, Visa, fined them or whatever for this cash discount program when they had signs clearly stating that this service fee was part of a cash discount scheme, some kind of an in-kind incentive. I think a good lawyer would look at that and say, what are you doing? It says right here, Visa, that you're not allowed to inhibit them. And by the way, it even says Visa isn't allowed to inhibit them with their contract. With their contract. That means that when Visa says your cash discount program is not in compliance with our agreement, with the Visa agreement, well, the Durbin Amendment says this overrides your agreement, and we're protecting their ability to do this. So I really have a big problem and challenge to those who are saying this cash discounting program is not compliant. I disagree. And again, it has not been challenged in court at all. Everybody looks at it and says, well, that's because it's surcharging. No, it's not. It's a cash discount. It's an in-kind incentive to get somebody to pay with cash, and it hasn't been challenged yet. Okay? So when Visa says, here are some merchants doing cash discounting, here are acquirers doing it, let's take them to court, and that actually goes to court. If Visa wins, because Visa is entitled to their opinion, certainly they're entitled to have legal representation and to go after this. I think that's great. That's why we live in a free country, right? They can do that. Once they do that and they win, I'll stop selling cash discounting. But until then, well, I'm going to keep selling it. Next, number 2. Cash discounting is easy to sell. Now, cash discounting is creating a relationship with a merchant. The part that I think a lot of people are missing here is that you're building a relationship with the merchant. So it doesn't matter if you do this for 12 months and then it's like, oh, wow, you know what? I was wrong. I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times before. I might be wrong here. Maybe it isn't in compliance with Visa rules. Okay, fine. Maybe Visa rules do somehow supersede this federal law, and I just didn't understand it. I'm not a lawyer. That's very possible, right? So in 12 months, they say, hey, you can't do that anymore. It has to be surcharging. Okay, so you switch your merchant to surcharging. But if you weren't selling the cash discounting, you wouldn't have the relationship with the merchant in the first place because cash discounting is really easy to sell. So why not sell the cash discounting now while it's a better deal for the merchant and it's easier to sell than anything else, and then you have the relationship. Number 3, lastly, cash discounting is more profitable. Now, this is one that really is gets me going here, okay? So the banks have been making 1.7% interchange for decades. Well, whatever, somewhere in that range, right? So they've been making 170 basis points. What do the banks do exactly for this process again? I'm trying to remember. Let's see. They move money from one account to the other. Yep, that was it. That's all they do. And we all know how expensive that can be to, electronically move money from one place to another. Really, really expensive, right? No. Okay. What do? We don't really do anything, right? I mean, why should we make any money? All we do is, let's see, we sell the merchant, we give them a terminal, we provide customer service, tech support, funding, billing, manage the risk. Hello, we do everything. And suddenly we have a program where we can make 100, 150 basis points of markup, and we're greedy. We're evil. We're the greedy, evil capitalists because we're trying to make 150 basis points while the banks are sitting there doing important things, granted, providing the liquidity, but they're making 170 basis points doing that. Why can't I make 150 basis points and the processors make 150 basis points when we're doing everything and all these really, really expensive things, right? It just makes total sense. So again, I'm still selling cash discounting. Why? Because it's compliant with the law, in my opinion. When I read the Durbin Amendment, I think it's fine. Even the ones where Visa specifically singled them out, I think those programs are perfectly compliant. I think they're fine. As long as you have the signage up and you follow the Durbin Amendment, I disagree with Visa. I think it's compliant according to the Durbin Amendment. It's easy to sell. It's really profitable. It's a win-win for everybody. It's good for the merchant, good for us. It gives the consumers the power of choice. I like cash discounting, and I am still selling it. My name is James Shepard. Have a great day.